So we're here in the vehicle and we've been getting pretty bad fuel economy in the Ford Bronco. All right, we're gonna do a miles per gallon test on the Ford Bronco. We just did it just recently. We'll talk more about that, but we're going through the mountains. Now we're gonna be going through differences between driving on the highway at 80, 85 miles per hour, 125 kilometers per hour. And we're gonna show the differences with driving the sweet spot of this vehicle, which is about 50 to 65 miles per hour. There's actually a huge difference, and we'll answer, can you actually beat the window sticker advertised miles per gallon, or is it much worse? So let's cover that during this miles per gallon test of both highway as well as the sweet spot and driving the city. We'll cover all that so that you can know the real deal about the Ford Bronco right here. And now we're at the zoo, so we're gonna jump in, and on the way back, we'll do very different driving than on the way up. So we'll get to that in just a moment. So we're here in the vehicle and we've been getting pretty bad fuel economy in the Ford Bronco. If you look right in here on the dash, we'll show you right here for the last 6,400 miles, we've done 16.4 miles per gallon. Now that's not horrible, but it certainly isn't good. But part of that is because we live in a a mountainous region, and I do actually a lot of city driving, and I'm really hard on the pedal. But today what we're gonna do is we're gonna be resetting the counter, because we're gonna be doing mostly flat driving with some mostly highway and about 10% city, probably stuck in traffic because we're on the way to the Granby Zoo. So we'll share a few photos of our little adventure. But our last adventure when we went down to the White Mountains, and then we also actually went down to Old Orchard Beach from Canada to Old Orchard Beach, then went up through into the White Mountains, up and down the White Mountains, stayed at the Stonehurst Manor, absolutely loved it. And on that trip, well, we're at 19 miles per gallon, including some of the city driving we've just recently done and kind of being stuck in traffic. We're very slow driving in Old Orchard Beach, but you can see right here for the last 552 miles, we've done 18.9 miles per gallon. Now, surprisingly, the sweet spot, the real sweet spot of the Ford Bronco is when you're driving about 55 to 65 miles per hour, because we were able to actually go through the mountains, and depending whether we're going up the mountains or down the mountains, we were ranging between 23.5 to 28 miles per gallon. So let's reset and now see what kind of miles per gallon we're going to get when we're driving mostly on flat surfaces. So we're back to 19 miles per gallon on that counter, so we're right on that fence line between 18.9 and 19 miles per gallon. And just a little myth bust from the last episode, the corners. Look at this right here. Marie, show this right here. Not very little body roll unless you're, really whipping around the steering wheel. Next to no body roll in the Ford Bronco, even when you have the wild track with the Haas 3.0 suspension, because remember, that Fox suspension is made for taking jumps and absorbing bumps. As such, you'd think it's going to be really wobbly when you're going through corners, and it's not. And yes, with the Bronco, to conclude the last video we did, yeah, you can hear a bit of the outside road noise, but I hear cars go by more than I hear noise from the tires. And the top does a half decent job. This isn't a luxury vehicle. Big truck going by, you are going to hear, but it's not the end of the world. A little bit of radio will resolve that. And I'm very sad that, there's good chances we're going to lose the 2.7 liter V6 twin turbo coming up with the mid-model refresh for 2025 on the Ford Bronco, because while the 2.3 liter is powerful, I just like the feeling of the 2.7 liter. It feels really torquey at all points. Now I'm eating all sorts of rocks, and that's not great with these almost flat windshields. So I'm going to slow down a little and not follow closely this gravel truck. But so far we haven't cracked any windshields. We got one little stone chip in one windshield, little trick, get them filled right away, because then you can go years with your windshield. So as soon as you get a stone chip in your windshield, don't wait for it to crack. Once it's cracked open and made a line, there's nothing you can do for that. So you gotta fix it when it's still that little dimple in your windshield. So I'm not gonna be driving all gingerly today. As you can see, I'm accelerating, loving the power of my 2.7 liter V6. But Maggie and I and baby are heading to the zoo. We'll have a few pictures for you, and we'll conclude what kind of fuel economy. You can hear that as we go by a truck again, a very, very noisy truck. That's what the sound deadening in this vehicle sounds like, because I want to cover these things. If you listen to all the hate on the Ford Bronco that's out on the internet, no one would buy a Ford Bronco, and those that do currently have Ford Broncos would only hate them. And most people are absolutely loving their Ford Bronco, and I think all the Bronco events that people are willing to drive across the country for is good proof that they're enjoying their Ford Bronco. So please drop a comment. Do you have a Ford Bronco? Are you enjoying it? And does this video help you consider to go out and test drive a Ford Bronco? Because really, you're the best judge at really how noisy you find things, how much you like the vehicle. It's all subjective. Even fuel economy. Sometimes people will say, hey look, it's an off-road machine. Who cares about the fuel economy? Well, I have a budget, so I care. And hopefully you care about this video. If so, hit the like button, subscribe, turn the bell notification on so you don't miss out. Now I'm going to drive a little quickly to have a more realistic fuel economy. I'm going to be driving about 75, 80 miles per hour. So let's see what that's like on the highway. We'll be right back in just a moment. So we're doing 80, 85 miles per hour, 120, 125 kilometers per hour with lots of acceleration and deacceleration on the highway. And we're at 17 miles per gallon, which is actually better than advertised. That's what Ford advertises for the two-door Ford Bronco, and this is the four-door Ford Bronco. So a little heavier, a little bigger. And we also have the Wild Track package. You get much better fuel economy if you just take your standard Big Bend, Black Diamond, or Outer Banks, or even the Badlands. So we've got the model with the biggest wheels, the highest lift, and still 17 miles per gallon with zero effort to drive in a sane and normal manner. We could have easily gotten 19, 20 miles per gallon on the highway. Now we're at 20.1 because the last little section we were in the sweet zone, which is driving 50 to 65 miles per gallon. On the way back from the zoo, we're going to only drive in that ideal zone, and we can show you right here. Normally what we get over the last 6,457 miles is 16.4 miles per gallon, and the reason for that is a ton of city with stop and go and hard acceleration. But that's still pretty much what's advertised from Ford as your regular miles per gallon. So it is extremely easy to beat Ford's advertised fuel economy. Extremely easy, because I drive with a heavy foot with lots of acceleration and braking, and we're beating the advertised miles per gallon. But let's take a little test on the way back for that sweet spot of 50 miles per gallon to 65 miles per gallon. Even if you have a Wild Track with the Haas 3.0 suspension, kind of a real Baja model, so the suspension's great at taking bumps. You'd think there'd be a lot of left-right wobble. Myth debunked. There's no bad left-right wobble here. We're going through the mountain roads, and this is not the twistiest section. It's not the best of the bendies. Just the same, even in the best of the bendies, going 55, 60 miles per hour, we're getting through no problem. The tires are just on the border of starting to actually scream, and made it through really well. No truck wobble. So when people tell you, oh, don't buy a Bronco, don't consider it because, you know, it's just a jacked up truck that's gonna drive poorly. This isn't an SUV that drives poorly. It's great in the bendies as well. And right now we're going through the White Mountains and we're at 24.2 miles per gallon for the last 59.5 miles. So fuel efficient as well. And actually, because of people's experiences with Jeeps, they might think or might say that the Bronco has, you know, death wobble. Well, in these mountain roads, at times the road gets very bumpy, so bumpy that we can't film because, well, it just looks horrible. But in the curves, in the bendies, with all the bumps, it's still holding the roll. It doesn't end up having kind of like a death wobble where the front end doesn't want to follow where you pointed the wheels. There's really no issues with this vehicle whatsoever. I'm not seeing any issues. I highly recommend that you go out and test drive a Bronco. Despite some of the negative myths that are out there, I'd say it's completely debunked. Try one out. You will be satisfied. You will love the Bronco if you actually drive it, folks. Well, on that note, we're going to finish driving through the White Mountains and wish you all more cars and more power. I hope you get to put the pedal to the metal in one of these. Maybe, who knows? Who knows how much longer the 2.7 liter V6 twin turbo will be around? Will 2024 end up being the last year of the 2.7 liter twin turbo? If so, maybe you should go out and buy one. But stay tuned, we'll cover that news once it becomes official. Take care, folks. See you again soon.